Hey there, guys, and welcome back to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 145. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Today, we are talking about Spider-Man 4, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Star Wars Outlaws, Nintendo Direct, Sonic 3 the movie, Star Wars The Acolyte, and more. But as usual, we will begin with our recent activity, starting with Damian.
Yeah, so I've just been playing a lot of MMOs. So Guild Wars, I already talked about it last podcast. I was playing the new expansion. And yeah, I thought it was really good. I thought it was a lot better than the last one. We're in this like mini X-Pac territory because Guild Wars is kind of like, it's doing okay, but it's not doing as good as like things like WoW or Final Fantasy at this point. So I guess they're kind of scaling down on like how big an expansion could be now. So they're doing these like yearly releases. Just to give an idea, usually MMOs release expansions every 2 years. That's usually how it goes. Just to get like a big meaty piece of content or whatever. But now they're doing yearly expansions where they release only 2 maps. Usually they release 4, and then they continue updating it throughout the year, and then the new one comes out. The last one I thought launched pretty well, but I think the post content wasn't that great. I only really played the launch of it, and I thought it was okay. Like I had a good time with it. This expansion I think is a lot better though. I think the features out the gate are a lot better. They introduced spears as a weapon, which is like that used to be an underwater weapon only, and people really wanted spears for a really long time. So they finally added it to like land combat, and it's pretty good. Some classes have it better than others, but it's a pretty good weapon, and I'm glad it's finally like on the land and not on the underwater combat because no one gives a shit about that. They updated some of the War Claw mount, which was only on World versus World before, and it's pretty fun. You can like do like little triple jumps and shit, pretty fun. And probably the big new feature they added was player housing, and it's great. I think they did a really good job. For the longest time, Wildstars was like my peak for player housing in an MMO. That game is dead now, but it had really good player housing where you could just customize anything. You could put any decoration in your house, basically like Animal Crossing or whatever. Like you could scale it up and down, do whatever. It was great. Guild Wars is doing the same thing where you could like scale all your objects in there. You can move them around however you please. You can enter like a no clip sort of mode to make it really easy to build all your furniture and stuff. It's really good. I think they put a lot of effort into it, which is a really smart thing to do because player housing is a good way to get people invested in your MMO and to like keep playing to get more decorations and shit. So I think they did a good job on that. The overall just expansion, like new maps and stuff, were great as well. At least the first map. The first map is fantastic. The second map feels a little unfinished, but it's whatever. I think they're gonna update it more later. But the first map was fantastic. Just the art in the map is fantastic. The music is really good. The story was pretty good too. They kind of left it open-ended at the end, so I guess they're gonna continue that with the updates. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this. I hope Guild Wars kind of keeps going on because I know it's like kind of the underdog at this point, but hopefully it can keep going because this was a better step in the whole mini X-Pac direction than the last one. So hopefully they keep up momentum with it because, I do like Guild Wars a lot. Like it was like the first MMO I really got into because I didn't have to pay a sub fee for it, right? Like I bought it for like $50, $60 when it came out in like 2012 and that's it. Then I just bought expansions. Like you didn't have to pay a sub fee. So hopefully it could continue with that. But this new expansion was pretty good. Speaking of MMOs, I've also been playing some WoW because the new expansion also came out like a week ago or something. Mm-hmm. And I don't really play WoW like at all, really. Like I played it, let's see. I played it when Cataclysm came out because I think there was a free trial for like level 20. And as a kid, I always wanted to play it. But I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and then I quit. And then I actually played it for real in 2016. I played it for around 100 hours or something, just to like get a taste. And 100 hours in a game like this is basically nothing. But I really enjoyed my time with it. Like I leveled up a monk to like max level, and that was when Legion came out because I heard that expansion was good, and I had a good time with it. But I didn't really do too much endgame or anything. I just kind of dipped my toes in it or whatever. And I was always interested in coming back to WoW, like eventually, just to experience more of the game. But then it had like a bunch of shitty expansions in a row. Like it had like Battle for Azeroth and like Shadowlands, which were like bad apparently. But came 2 years ago, I think Dragonflight came out, and people really liked that one. And I was getting more interested in trying out the game again. And now with this new expansion, The War Within, people are really liking it. So, and they're kind of advertising it as like a new entry point for players because it's going to be like this 3-arc expansion storyline. They honestly took a lot of things from Final Fantasy 14. Like they said it, Blizzard. They're like, yeah, we want to have more emphasis on story. We want to make it more accessible for solo players. Like you could just experience the story and stuff. And I've been hearing good things about that. And that gets me really interested. So I've just been leveling up a character right now. I haven't bought the expansion or anything yet. I've just been kind of getting my feet wet again. And yeah, it's been a good time. WoW is WoW. It's one of the older MMOs out there, but it still works. I think the game still looks great. It has all the graphical updates over the years. The gameplay still plays, it plays like Final Fantasy 14, but 14 plays like WoW because it took elements from that. So it kind of feels like I'm at home playing it. So it's not like that different. And yeah, I always have a good time playing WoW. So hopefully I could get to the next expansion at some point because I would really like to experience like this like new era of WoW. And honestly, Blizzard in general has been doing a bit better lately. Like, I would always be the one to shit talk them because I played a lot of Blizzard games during the 2010s. And sort of like the mid 2010s to early 2020s, they were really shitting the bed. But I feel like with Diablo 4, with this new WoW expansion coming out, Overwatch is still shitting the bed, to be honest. But, those two things, I think they've been doing it a lot better recently. So it does make me feel a lot better about just the company in general. Also, they got rid of like a lot of toxic people. So all they have to do is bring back StarCraft and I will be very happy. But I guess we'll see when that happens. And last, the big thing that I said last week that I would do is Daredevil season 1. I have watched all of it. I totally forgot it was like 13 episodes. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Netflix shows used to have hands back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched it and I fucking loved it. It was a 10 out of 10. I loved it a lot. And the reason I loved it a lot is one is the length. I feel like the problem with a lot of these Marvel shows, like the MCU shows, is that they just have no time to breathe, like, at all. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes, and it doesn't help. One, the MCU shows are not even an hour sometimes. Like, sometimes they're like 40, 30 minutes or whatever. And then two, they're like 6 episodes or whatever. I feel like this show, every episode's like an hour. It's 13 episodes. And you get, like, a lot of time just to, like, I don't know, like, just feel what these characters are feeling. There's a lot of episodes that are just, like, flashbacks or just getting, like, just, like, good time with the characters. And it makes you care a lot. Like, I was starting to care about the Kingpin side of, like, his story, because they're great characters. They're written very well. Also, I'm just going to say spoilers now. So spoilers for Daredevil season 1. Like, when Wesley got shot, I'm like, oh, shit, he got shot. Like, I actually like, he was a bad guy, but I'm like, he was a good character, too, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing with everyone else that was like dying at
Ben,
at
bro.
the end.
Ben too. Oh my god.
Yeah, when he died too, I'm like, oh fuck, the show has hands, and I've always liked that in media when, like things could happen, like things like people could just die like that, right? And I also like it that no one really swoops in to save the day a lot of the time because the show is very grounded. Like, no one really has superpowers, really. Like, Matt, like, he's blind, I guess. Like, that's his superpower. But, it's mostly, like, martial arts and stuff. So, like, no one's, like, super, like, crazy powerful or anything. And I really like that because it gives the show, like, real danger, right? Like, Matt could just get the shit beat out of him because, he's still just a guy at the end of the day, right? And I think that adds a lot of stakes to the whole show in general. Yeah. So, yeah, like, I think, like, just the characters were really good. Just the writing just feels very just mature. It's not the typical MCU stuff you come to expect nowadays.
Where they're like spoon feeding you stuff or like
they're like
treating the audience in a certain way. I feel like this show really gives you, as the audience, like, you feel smart when you're watching it. You're like, oh, okay, like this is happening. And, like you were saying with the whole like length and everything, that helps because it allows characters to just like talk and like figure shit out. Like, I also rewatched this like on my second monitor while I was playing like TFT or whatever. But, one thing that I forgot was that like when Matt was with the Russian guys and he was trying to figure out like, how do I keep them alive, but also get the information out about the Kingpin and everything like that. And before I gush on any longer, what else do you have to say?
It's just like, I feel like this writing, you just don't really get it in the MCU, like at least in other shows. Like it really shows with Fisk, like, watching him here and then thinking back about Hawkeye or Echo, I'm like, he doesn't even feel like the same character. Like he's still a great actor in those shows and stuff, but he definitely feels more of a comic book villain in those. And this one, he definitely feels more like a guy, like you get his struggles, you understand where he's coming from. He's obviously still an awful person, but like he doesn't feel like a comically evil guy or whatever. Also, he sticks to the shadows a lot of time. Obviously, towards the middle, he comes out or whatever. But he's still, I think that's what makes Kingpin like such a dangerous villain, because he basically controls the whole city, right? I feel like in the MCU shows, he was just like coming up in person all the time. I'm like, that's not like, like obviously when you fight Kingpin, he's still like hard to beat, but he's like, that's not his thing. He's supposed to be up in his like tower, like and commanding everyone to do shit for him. And I think the show does that very well. Like the most MCU the show gets is like at the end when he's fighting Kingpin at the end, and that was awesome. Like it deserved it at that point, right?
Yeah.
But and I'm not saying like, obviously I like the MCU. I'm not like shitting on it or anything, but you just tell the night and day difference in terms of writing, just in terms of like how they unravel the plot, all the crime syndicates and stuff, the characters. I mean, Foggy and Karen are great. Like I love those two characters a lot. And they both have their own.
Think they were gonna axe them?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Now I know why everyone on Twitter was so mad, because like I feel like those two are like such a big part of the show. They're like the heart of that show. Like, you know, Matt and Fisk are obviously like the main two characters basically, but you know, those two are really like, you know, the main heart, the law of the show, right? So without them, I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Like there's no human element to Matt, I don't think, without those two. Yeah. And yeah, also the action was fantastic as well. Like the every fight felt really great. All like it just every hit felt meaty and shit. Like, you know, again, it's not flashy or anything. It's just straight up martial arts, and it looks great. And just street brawls in general too. So absolutely love that about the show as well. And yeah, like it was just fucking great.
Yeah. Even though like I wasn't like 100% paying attention, you know, like when like certain moments would happen, like when that guy said Kingpin's name and then he's like, I have to kill myself, and then he just does it. I'm like, holy crazy. Fuck. Yeah, no, like this show really did not hold back. And, you know, one thing that I also noticed was that like, you know, they were part of the MCU, quote unquote, by like mentioning like the event and, you know, sort of like the beginning where it's like, you know, like Ren's down because of the event and sort of like alluding to what happened during the first Avengers movie. And I'm like, oh, okay, like there were certain things that they were trying to connect it with, but obviously never fully came together. And now that, you know, Daredevil is back within the MCU, now that can happen, obviously. But yeah, you know, like this show is like one of my favorite things ever, even though, you know, what's it called? Even though it took so long for us to get like a season 4 kind of thing, Damian, I cannot wait for you to watch season 2, which, you know, is a little messy. There's a lot of shit going on, but I feel like once you get to season 3, which you have to watch like Defenders or like watch like a recap or whatever, because you can't just skip from season 2 to 3. It will get very confusing. Like, what the fuck happened? But season 3 is like straight up peak. It is so fucking good. Like if you love what they did within season 1, season 3 is like that times 10 to a certain extent. Like they really flesh out these characters so much more, and you really get to see them be their best selves.
Yeah, my brother is also a big fan of the Netflix Daredevil shows, and he was telling me the same thing. Like season 3 is like the best thing ever, and I thought this season was amazing. And I mean, he said the same thing about season 2. Like it's a little more messy. Like it's not as good as season 1, but it's still good. And I know I need to watch Defenders. I probably am just gonna watch Defenders, and just watch it because I like to have like the full context at least. I'm not gonna watch every like, you know, I'm not gonna watch like I might watch Jessica Jones season 1 at some point because I know that's good, but like I'm not gonna watch Luke Cage. I'm not gonna watch Iron Fist like that. You know, that's a little too much for me. But I will watch Defenders just so I could get up to Daredevil season 3 and then watch that as well. But overall it was a very good show. Again, like I really just love how grounded the whole thing felt. You know, just the absence of like a real. Again, Matt isn't even really a hero himself, like he said. Like obviously towards the end he is, but like, you know, he's kind of just doing what he thinks feels right for Hell's Kitchen and stuff. And you know, it was really good. It just came out as something that felt very refreshing. I know this came out like 10 years ago at this point. Yes. But you know, if you're kind of like over the MCU and you never watched at least Daredevil, I definitely would recommend it because it definitely feels like a breath of fresh air over what we've been getting with these MCU shows. And hopefully they could write it right in Born Again. Because, you know, I like now looking back at it again with Hawkeye and with Echo, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if they have the same writers as for the Netflix shows, but I do hope they do it right. Because, you know, I think the writing is such a big part of why the show is really good. And hopefully the MCU could get it right. That's all I hope for.
Look, man, that Born Again trailer, I watched it so many times on my phone. I'm like, yeah, it feels right. So I hope that once it does come out in March or whatever, you know, it does stick that landing and, you know, we can continue to get more Daredevil stuff. But, you know, before we go on to what I've been doing, let's talk about the Spider-Man 4 rumor that sort of hit the internet and a lot of people have been talking about it. So Daniel RPK, he is saying that the release date for Spider-Man 4 will be in July 2026, and it will be in between Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. So that pretty much means that this will be another multiverse storyline, and it will be set on Battleworld or whatever. So, you know, just treating this news as if it was like actually true, because, you know, him being the source is a little iffy at times with a lot of these sort of like leak MCU guys or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I've been saying this for years and years and years, ever since No Way Home ended. And, we did have Charlie Cox within that show as like a quick little cameo to sort of get him into the MCU. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people now that, Born Again is actually picking up traction. We got people like Damian who are now watching the series for the first time ever. It's like, okay, yeah, Spider-Man 4 should be about Kingpin, Daredevil, and sort of them teaming up and sort of having this like street level war thing going on. And, for it to now be a multiverse kind of thing obviously sucks. I think it's just because of the whole Marvel Sony deal. Both parties want different things. I'm sure Feige and Holland both want, Daredevil and all of that stuff to be like a grounded level story. Because, it hasn't been grounded ever since Homecoming. If you look at Far From Home, No Way Home, it's always been like some sort of big bombastic thing that is always connected to like the Avengers or whatever else is happening within the MCU. So, I hope that we get it within like Spider-Man 5 or 6, because, I would love to see Charlie Cox and Tom Holland on screen together as both Spider-Man and Daredevil.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, I mean, they have to bring it up now, like especially with Born Again. Like you can't just not mention Spider-Man, right? Like, he's New York's hero. And, Kingpin is still a big deal for Spider-Man himself. So, like, it would be weird not to, like, mention him at all in Born Again if they do. And obviously, like, I was hoping for Spider-Man 4 to be, a ground level story. Like, I was imagining, him and Daredevil teaming up to take down Kingpin, maybe the Sinister Six, like, maybe he could form one or something. I don't know. It would have been kind of cool. And, me watching this, I'm like, oh, it would be awesome to see Spider-Man and him like team up and do shit. But obviously, the more interested in the multiverse stuff, which I thought that they did it perfectly with No Way Home. Like, I feel like there's no real reason to do another one. Plus, we have Spider-Verse also happening at the same time, which is like, people are just getting fatigued of seeing so. I mean, even I'm starting to feel fatigued of seeing so many Spider-Men all over the place, right? Like, it'd be cool to get, because Spider-Man in New York, we haven't seen in like a while, which is weird to say, besides the games, right? Like in the MCU, I think it's Homecoming was the only time he's really like been in New York doing stuff, like
like around the city kind of thing. Obviously No Way Home obviously takes place in New York and all that stuff, but it wasn't necessarily about him saving New York. It was about saving the multiverse.
So it ends up like not really feeling like that. So I don't know. I do hope like maybe they change directions, because these MCU projects feel so wishy-washy now. But and we don't even know if the source is like totally correct or anything. But I'm really hoping it's not another multiverse. It just screams like they want to make money, right?
Yes.
Like, oh, we know this is gonna sell money. But like I really want a street level Spider-Man story. I feel like it's been a while since we've gotten one, and at least on the big screen, and it'll be nice to see one. Also, now I'm investing in the whole Daredevil stuff, and it'll be awesome to see them interact. So,
yeah, whenever I try to sell people on Daredevil, I always say it's like an M-rated Spider-Man, because it pretty much has the sort of same things between Matt Murdock and Daredevil battling it out with each other within their own personal lives and their own demons and shit like that. So, one man can hope that maybe Spider-Man 5 or 6 we do get that Daredevil team up finally, and that Holland and Feige get their way within some way or whatever, because Sony obviously is like Spider-Man is like their big money maker, and I hope that whatever happens, whatever becomes true within the future of the MCU Spider-Man stuff, I hope that it's just done well, because I know that Tom Holland is probably tired of just like people online shitting on him for these movies that he does great work in, but the scripts and sort of like the storylines that are interconnected with the MCU is always just like whatever, it doesn't really relate to Spider-Man as a character. But I guess that's just the price that we have to pay as like the viewers, where it's like, oh yeah, Spider-Man is in the MCU, but that means he's always super duper connected within the MCU, which gets really goddamn annoying. But we'll see.
I think it's just because Spider-Man could like hold his own really well for like his own stories. Like obviously every hero can, but I feel like Spider-Man especially, so I think that's why people get more annoyed when he's like super entangled in the MCU, because it's like you just want to see him do his stuff, right? Like you don't want to see him like just be a plot device or whatever, right? So yeah, that's just that. Like, I hope they reverse the decision, or I hope this isn't true or whatever. I'll still watch it.
Yeah.
But, now I got all hyped for Daredevil. I mean, I'm still going to watch Daredevil. Like, I've been really enjoying it. So, but hopefully Spider-Man and Matt Murdock could meet each other one day. Well, I guess they already did, but in suits,
in costume, in full costume.
In costume, yeah,
that'd be awesome. But yeah, let's move on from there. Now let's talk about what I've been doing these past 2 weeks. This game came out literally a few days ago. It's called Akimbot.
Yeah, I played a Steam Next Fest demo of that when that was happening. So.
Yeah, so I bought it on my PS5 for $20, which is very surprising because I was like, leading up to the release, there wasn't any price attached to it, and I know Pumpkin Jack was like a $30 game when that came out, so I was like, okay, I'm expecting to pay $20 or whatever, but it was $20, and I was like, all right, cool. Downloaded it, bought it. And yeah, it's a pretty fun sort of, spiritual successor kind of to like the Jack and Daxter Ratchet and Clank games, which is what they sort of pull a lot from and sort of how they advertise this game as. But there are some issues when it comes to like the performance and sort of like how the game is. So like, for example, the game has a shit ton of screen tearing. Like there is so much of it. It happens legit constantly throughout the entire game. I can obviously look past it and sort of just like continue playing, but I feel like for some people they're like, why is there screen tearing so much? I know that this is a indie studio obviously, and I think it's less than like 10 people. I think it's like 8 or whatever. So I'm not gonna hold them off, sort of like hold them too much on a sort of high pedestal kind of thing, but that's kind of annoying. One thing that I do really like about the game is that like the gameplay and like the platforming, the gunplay, it's all really solid. Like they give you a lot of different platforming challenges and sort of obstacles between every single level. And I think that, for them to pull from Jack and Daxter Ratchet and Clank, that fits very, very well. I feel like with the recent Ratchet and Clank games, it was very much about like the gunplay. This game is much more about the platforming, which I think is a nice breath of fresh air for me personally. The guns are okay. You don't have to buy them. The only ones you buy is like your special weapon, which is with triangle. You press that and you pretty much do like a big super duper, explosion gun or whatever. Every single gun is recharged over time. It's not necessarily something that you have to like get ammo for or buy ammo for or whatever like that. But yeah, it's pretty good. I think I'm only like 5.5 hours in. I think if you really do like Ratchet and Clank, especially, I think you should definitely check this out, Damian.
So I did play the demo of it a few months ago when it was on the Steam Next Fest. I totally forgot it came out just because it was like a bunch of other stuff. Didn't it come out like last week, this game?
It came out this week, actually.
This week? Okay, all right, yeah. So when I played it, I was expecting basically just a Ratchet clone, but like, like an indie game, and that's why I was excited for it. But yeah, like what you said, it's definitely more of like a Jack and Ratchet like combination. Like, it has a lot more platforming. The guns feel like a bit more like Jack guns, but like you could like, it still feels like Ratchet controls. It's really weird. But I did like it. Like I did like what I played of it, and I do like the more platform heavy like gameplay because Ratchet, like you said, has kind of like lost its way in terms of platforming. Well, obviously I love Rift Apart and stuff, but it definitely just became Doom, right? Like you could die, you could dash everywhere, you could shoot a bunch of stuff, and I love that. But I do feel like the platforming really got lost in the sauce during like recent Ratchet and Clank games, so it's kind of nice to see one that's kind of taking that back. Like, it's like, okay, let's bring some more platforming with the gunplay again. So I've been very interested in playing this. Then I like forgot it came out. So thank you for reminding me that, because I think I saw on Steam too. Oh shit, I need to like play that. So I definitely like where I played of it. I played Pumpkin Jack as well. So and I did like that game as well. So I think these developers are doing a pretty good job. I think making an indie like 3D platformer is always a very hard thing to do. Yeah. So I think that takes a lot of like guts to do that. But the PC performance also wasn't great when I played it either. And I'm sure like you said on PS5, it also has a bunch of screen tearing. So hopefully they could iron out those issues. But I'm definitely interested in playing this, and maybe my next podcast. I mean, Astrobot also comes out next week, so there's a lot of shit happening. But maybe I'll try to squeeze it in there. We'll see. But I'm definitely interested in this because any sort of Ratchet clone, I will play because I like Ratchet a lot, as you could tell. So,
we are definitely getting into the thick of it when it comes to game releases starting now.
Yeah.
But yeah, also the storyline, it's fine. It's anything too spectacular. You got Xe and Shipet, which is pretty much Ratchet and Clank. Xe and Shipet, they're
Again, they act more like Jack and Daxter more than Ratchet and Clank. Yeah, so
they're very much assholes. I will say that. Like they are not good people. But they go through like a interesting storyline. You probably seen it before, where like it's sort of like a buddy cop where like they don't want to work together. Then they slowly become friends, and sort of they both help each other throughout this adventure throughout the galaxy and trying to save people or whatever the case is. Shipette really reminds me of fucking Claptrap because he will not shut the fuck up, and he's kind of annoying, but it's just how it is. There's also a couple of little things that are kind of annoying. Like, for example, when the game auto saves, the game straight up will like freeze and like frames will start driving. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. But the game's saving. At least that's a good part of it.
Right.
There's a section where you have to control a car that is like complete dog water. I hated that. But on the bright side of things, the music is like so good. Like the initial menu music, I was like, okay, all right. And like pretty much every single track that accompanies every single level is like bang on, spot on. I really did enjoy that. But I don't know how much I have left. I read online that someone said it took them 10 hours to complete it and then a few more to get everything. So according to that, I guess I'm like halfway through, which is kind of crazy for like an indie game to be like 10 hours long. I was definitely expecting like 5 to 6, but it feels like I'm getting closer to the end, but I guess we'll see when I talk about it next time on the podcast. And then let's talk about Deadlock. This is Valve's 6v6 hero shooter MOBA weird genre mix. They kind of dropped this randomly, and it was revealed that people have been playing it for a bit in alpha, obviously under embargo, but now people are able to get into it as long as they get like a key or whatever. And shout out to our friend Louis, who pretty much gave us all keys. I don't know how he got his, but
I don't know how he got it either, but whatever.
So yeah, pretty much all of us are now able to play this 6v6 hero shooter MOBA. Kind of weird.
I played like 30 minutes of it yesterday. Just I'm like, oh, I should probably like. I haven't had a chance to really play it yet, so I played like 30 minutes of it. So at least I know what the fuck I'm looking at when I talk about here. I guess I could go real quick, just some like really, really quick. I played one game, got fucking demolished, and I'm like, okay. All I can say is it's very overwhelming. Cause, it's mixing in a lot of stuff. There's a lot of shit on my screen, so it's combining like MOBA stuff, which is a very kind of a clusterfuck, but you can tell what's happening because it's isometric and shit. And kind of like shooter vibes, or I guess more hero shooter because you can use abilities or whatever. So kind of just you combine the clusterfuck of both of those genres, which are very kind of hard to read, put them in this game. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Like, there's just things happening all the time. It definitely feels more of a MOBA than a shooter, though, at least to me. Like minion waves, towers, all that. Like, it's really important to stay behind your minions and, go behind your tower. Like, you can't just like be like I don't know, fucking Overwatch. I'm just gonna go in and kill that motherfucker. Like, you can't really do that. You definitely have to like get items, do all that, level up your abilities. It definitely feels a lot more like a MOBA to me than a shooter. But obviously you have all the mechanics. You could roll and you could reload and shoot and all that. There's like high ground and stuff. And that it's really messing with my brain. 'Cause again, it's combining two genres that are pretty like, I don't know, like complicated to get a hold of, and then you put them together. I'm like, I am mind flooded as fuck. Like, I did not know what's happening in my first game. Like, I think I enjoyed it, but I would need to play a lot more to really get a better understanding. But maybe you could tell us, because you played a lot more of this. So.
I play like 5 to 6 hours of it. I'm obviously like a fucking League of Legends guy. I tried to go pro at one point. I peaked Grandmaster 300 LP in 2020. So I know my way around League of Legends. I know my way around League of Legends. So I have not played another MOBA ever since then. I've always only stuck to League. So playing this one, I'm like, oh, okay, it's 6v6 for one, and then it's also a hero shooter. So then I'm like, okay, like there's a lot of shit going on here. And yeah, I mean, I had fun with it, playing with my girlfriend, Louie, and Kofi, all 4 of us queuing up together. It is definitely a lot of fun. I could see definitely the appeal of it. I'm not sure if it's actually going to like take over and sort of be like the next big like game like Valorant was, I feel like. Because, when Valorant came out, it was like pretty much everyone was at home. Everyone was trying to play that game. And I feel like Deadlock, we're sort of seeing that in some regards. It is a MOBA also. So like, I feel like that genre in and of itself is a lot more daunting to get into, especially if you've never played one before. You need to learn like minion waves and sort of towers and like objectives and everything like that. So I feel like Valve did a really good job combining the genres together, but also streamlining it for like newer players, where like pretty much in the beginning it tells you which lane you're going to. You don't pick.
Yeah.
It pretty much just tells you which lane you're going to. There's no jungler.
There's no jungler, right? Yeah, I noticed that.
No jungler, no vision. You have to worry about. All you have to worry about is like your lane, and then if like other people sort of roam around the map, which is obviously like much more like high level stuff, and also can be very risky, because obviously if you're in like a 2v2 lane and then your lane partner leaves to go and help someone else, it's like, oh, okay, then they could pressure that other laner or whatever. There's like a lot of macro stuff and whatnot that I've used when we were playing Deadlock. I believe our first game, it looked fucking doomed. It looked like we were actually gonna lose, and then we got a good team fight. We got like the Baron objective or whatever that's like in the middle. We made one good push and then we just won the game. So yeah, that's pretty much how MOBAs work. It's pretty much all about objectives and obviously getting those team fights in to get more objectives, get more towers, everything like that. So yeah, I feel like the tutorial does a pretty decent job as to like how to like play a MOBA or whatever. And like the game really is like really messy, like Damian said, because of like the fucking controls. Obviously you move with WASD, but also the abilities are 1, 2, 3, 4.
I could imagine that's hard for you. I have an MMO mouse, so it doesn't feel that bad for me. But I could imagine for normal people, I'm like, how the fuck would you do that, right? Because
I was hitting 4 so many times when I didn't want to use my fucking ultimate, and I was like, I gotta like remap it to like one of my mouse buttons, which I did. And then also if you get like consumables or like actives, it's ZXCV, and I'm like, okay, like there's so many buttons here. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So yeah, there's definitely, a huge learning curve here. But obviously, if you played like Overwatch, League of Legends, anything within those genres, you'll be familiar with what's going on within Deadlock. And it is a lot of fun. I will be honest, just like learning the game, sort of seeing what each character does, how strong they are. Because, some games I'm like, this character's dog water. And then next game it's on the other team. And then I'm getting wrecked by it. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I was just playing about it or whatever. But yeah, the game is a lot of fun. There is definitely, the sort of like the leveling aspect, the shop aspect, everything like that. I find it weird that you can't just like base like teleport. You have to like take like the grind rail, which like takes forever, and then you have to go back and everything like that. But there is like a boost that is on like a 300-second cooldown, which is crazy. But yeah, if you have a chance to play Deadlock and you get like a beta key or whatever the case that they're doing right now, try it out. See if you like it. I don't know how far along this game will be until it actually comes out on Steam and is like free to play and everything like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes like Valve's like next like big MOBA project that they're working on. Obviously like fucking Dota 2 is still massive or whatever, but this is like their next big baby that they're sort of releasing, and it sort of came out of nowhere, which is how most Valve games are released. So
yeah, I mean, like I always like Valve stuff. Obviously, I mean, I was a TF2 player for a while and stuff, but I feel like they haven't. Every time they launch something, it's kind of just like dies, right? Like Dota Underlords, Artifact. So I kind of hope this one kind of sticks around, because I think this one has a lot more potential than those games. But it's also weird to launch another MOBA when you have a MOBA. It does feel a bit weird. I know it's like kind of trying to combine a bunch of genres together, but to me, it kind of just feels like a MOBA. I need to play a lot more of it to like sort of like understand, because I don't hate it. Like I kind of enjoyed what I played of it, and I would like to play more. I played like the turret lady. I don't think I liked her very much. She didn't feel very fun. But I think there was this like electric guy who like kept shooting like orbs at the lane that took up the whole fucking lane.
That's 7. Yeah.
Yeah, his ult is like insane. Like his ult, I guess that's his ult. He would like spaz out, and like his AoE is insane. I'm like, what the fuck?
I love that guy.
Yeah, so I would like to learn a bit more about it. It seemed like that game ended in like 20 minutes because we got steamroll. I don't know how long games are supposed to be.
Bro, man, there were some like 50, 40-minute bangers that we were in.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a standard MOBA length, like 50 something minutes. It's kind of why I don't play the genre as much anymore, but I would like to play a bit more of it and see what I think about it. But yeah, pretty interesting by Valve. We'll see what they do. Give me a TF3, but whatever.
And then quickly, I've been watching some movies. I saw Alien Romulus twice. That is a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. If you know nothing about Alien like me, I was like, this shit kind of good. I feel like that entire third act, not gonna spoil it, but that entire third act was just like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on? I was on the edge of my seat. There's definitely a lot of jump scares and sort of things that are supposed to like spook you or whatever.
Yeah.
If you like The Last of Us 2, there's a lot of elements that sort of are in the movie, which is kind of weird. I think the director did play The Last of Us 2, and obviously I believe Isabel Merced, I forget exactly her full name, but she is in the movie, and she's also in HBO's The Last of Us season 2 as what's her name? I forget.
Which
Ellie's
one?
girlfriend.
Yeah, I'm forgetting her fucking name, but I know what you mean.
Anyways, yeah, she's in the movie and she does a fantastic job along with the main character, Kaylee Spaney, I believe is the actress's name. She's fantastic. She's really making it come up within Hollywood. She was in Civil War earlier this year or last year, I forget, but yeah, she was fantastic. And then I saw a really bad movie, Blink Twice. I can't
ads for this, bro. So I don't know.
Blink Twice is a movie starring Channing Tatum, and I believe it's directed by his fiancee Zoe. I forget the last name again, but she was Catwoman within The Batman. So, you probably know her from that. Yeah. But this was her directorial debut. And, it has a lot of good ideas. I think on paper, it had a lot of great stuff going on. And then when in execution, I was just like, I'm not really that into it, that enthralled into it. It's a less than 2 hour movie. The beginning and like the first half of it, I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like this shit is like taking forever to like, pick up. It's sort of like get to like the big twist in terms of like, what are they doing on like this island or whatever? And then it just, goes AWOL, stuff starts to happen. And I'm like, okay, like I get what we're doing here, but I don't think it was just executed all that well. Definitely the longest 2 hours of my life. I was like, when is this movie going to end? Like this shit feels like 2 hours and 30 minutes. I don't know. But also the ending is like very fucking strange. I was like, what is happening here? But that might have been the point or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, Blink Twice is definitely not on my top 10 movies of this year. I will say that much.
So watch Alien.
Yeah, go watch Alien. Anyways, so let's get into the news in gaming and entertainment. So first up, we got Sonic X Shadow Generations Doom Powers trailer. So pretty much them showcasing literally every single power that's going to be in the game and also giving us a little bit of the Sonic or Metal Sonic Overlord boss fight or whatever.
The Metal Overlord, yeah.
Yeah, I am very excited for this game. Obviously, I feel like this last trailer is really sort of encapsulating that, like, hey, like they put a lot of effort into making this Shadow Generations part of the game really worth it. And I think them giving Shadow the like Doom powers will obviously differentiate him from Sonic and also just make like the gameplay segments a lot more fun to go through. Obviously, Sonic, Shadow, whatever levels that you want to describe them as, they're always about speed. And I feel like all of these are about, them going through obstacles in a fast fashion and sort of traversing certain things or whatever that are within the level. And yeah, I think that this game is going to be a lot of fun and I cannot wait to see for myself when, I actually get to play the game, how these Doom powers will actually function.
Yeah, it's actually pretty smart. One, to like combine Shadow's sort of like chaos powers, with Chaos Sphere and stuff or whatever. But also like these Doom powers are kind of like replacing his vehicles. Like, he has like a boat, but it's not a boat. It's like a like a weird glider thing. Like his wings are like when he flies in 06 or whatever with his little like paraglider or whatever. So it's like kind of like a more in theme version of those things, which is great. Also, I guess it could be like sort of a substitute for Wisp powers as well for that Sonic has. So it's kind of like a nice happy medium that like fits Shadow's theme. Because the guns and vehicles, like they kind of go hard, I'm not gonna lie, but it's also like I do think the games should probably get away from those things because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Again, cool factor, yes. Like, if Shadow rocks up with a Glock again, I wouldn't complain. But like, in theme, it doesn't really like match too much. I think going with more Chaos powers or Doom powers makes a lot more sense. And if they continue that in future games, that would be fine as well. And I think it was like the director of the game said like he doesn't need a weapon because he has a weapon, and I'm like, yeah, that goes hard. So yeah, sure. But yeah, overall, again, like we said before, Shadow X Sonic Generations is looking really good. They're putting a lot of effort into this DLC, where it almost feels like its own game at this point. Like it feels like the Sonic Generations part of the game just feels like that feels like the bonus compared to this now, like this feels like what I'm really paying for. And I'm very excited for it, and when we talk about the Sonic 3 trailer, I'm just happy that Shadow is getting really good representation over the last like year, I guess. Cause it's been, he hasn't really shown up too much ever since like now, basically. Like Sonic Prime, he showed up and he was great in it. And now with this game and the movie, I am all in for all the Shadow love. Could Silver get some of that now? I don't know. Probably not. But, I'm happy Shadow is getting a bunch of cool stuff. And all these gameplay stuff is looking fantastic. Very excited to play this.
One last thing. What do you think about the Limited Run Games Collector's Edition?
I mean, like it's like how much was it? Like 300 or some shit? Like
yeah, like after tax and everything, it's 250 for pre-order
yeah.
right now. It closes on October 6th. It's available on pretty much every single platform: Switch, PS5, PS4, Xbox, and PC. The big thing is that the PS4 Collector's Edition, this is the only way that they're going to print that version of the game physically in North America, so that's kind of interesting. But just to give a quick rundown to anyone that doesn't know what's in this collector's edition, you get a statue, a CD, Dreamcast replica case, mini Chow figures, Sonic Shadow shoe keychains, a steelbook, and art book, thing of authenticity, and I think I already mentioned the 10-inch Sonic Shadow statue, but yeah.
Yeah, like the collection is really cool. Like all the items on there look fantastic. But the problem with limited run games is just like you just don't get that shit till way later. Obviously, the scarcity as well. Like a lot of games now. Like I feel like a lot of companies are going to limited run to like basically take over their distribution of like physical copies, and obviously that's not great because they're limited run stuff, right? So like if you don't get it, then you're not gonna get it. Plus, if you want to play the game the year it comes out, good luck with that because that won't ship till like.
One thing about this is that they're actually shipping the game out within 2 weeks after the release date, so you might get it. Yeah,
interesting.
So I pre-ordered it shamelessly. I pre-ordered
I figured.
I pre-ordered the Switch version because I'm like,
version.
Yeah. As much as I would like like the PS4 like collector's box thing or whatever, because like that's obviously gonna be like a really rare Sonic game or whatever. I'm like, I kind of want to play it as well, so I'm like, I'm just going to get the Switch version so I could when I do my video, I could also compare like the Switch version to the PS5 version, etc., etc.
I see.
But pretty much when you pre-order it, you will get that game somewhere within the 2 weeks after October 25th or whatever. So, but then you have to wait until July next year for whenever they finish production, and then it'll get shipped out then. So, you're still waiting a long time for like what you're paying for mainly, but you will be getting the game relatively around the release date.
Okay, that's a lot better. Yeah, because I'm sure like a lot of people like they want the goodies, but they also want the fucking game on time so they could play it. So that's a better compromise to like get the game a lot earlier, and then you wait the year to get the extra stuff. Like obviously, it's still like not great for a lot of people, because like they want it now or whatever. But that's definitely a lot more reasonable than waiting a year for the game. Like when I bought the Mega Edition for the Scott Pilgrim game, I didn't mind because it was a cheaper game, so I bought it twice because it was like $15 anyway. But I basically had to wait. Like I like forgot about it when I got it. I'm like, oh yeah, I bought this. So, and it's cool. Like I have it over there on my shelf. But if you wait that long to play this game you really want to play, like you're probably just gonna double dip anyway. So I'm happy they're addressing that at least. But I know a lot more people don't like limited run just for a bunch of different reasons. But for me as a consumer, that's like the most annoying thing. Is like I'm not gonna get this game till like fucking 50 years later. So what the fuck? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why Sega's doing it, just because they probably were like, we weren't going to make one for North America and whatever, and then they were like, well, people want it, so like we can't necessarily like make one and then have people or like release it like a year later. Why don't we just have limited run games do it? Because then it also alleviates the stress on them and everything like that. I did a whole video on it, but I think it's cool. It's neat. Obviously limited run games are very problematic. I watched a whole hour-long video on YouTube about them after I did my video. So like I understand like all of the controversies that they were involved with. So, they're obviously like not like the best squeaky clean company, but if they're the only ones that are going to have this fucking collector's edition, what are you going to do? Right. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's just supply and demand,
Yeah.
So. Alrighty, so next up we have a lot of news from the what was it? Oh, Gamescom, yeah. So Gamescom news, Borderlands 4 got a teaser. So we kind of knew about this, or at least I knew about it. Like they were doing a Borderlands 4, and this is just a teaser. It doesn't really show a lot. It's kind of setting the stage, I guess, for Borderlands 4, which I'm guessing for the lore, in pre-sequel, you meet an Iridian who is like the aliens that control the vaults that you're looting, which is why you call vault hunters. And at the end of that game, the Iridian's like, oh, there's a war coming. And then they never followed up on that. So I'm guessing they're finally following up on it with this game. So Borderlands, has been in such a shitty situation in the last few years, because I think the peak of Borderlands, 1 came out and that was a great game. I liked Borderlands 1, and then 2 came out and I fucking loved Borderlands 2. Same thing with the first Tales from the Borderlands. That game was fantastic. Still one of my favorite Telltale games. I love it so much. those two, like, again, and that's why I'm always like, the writing in Borderlands can be good. Like, I think people really dismiss it because it does have the meme 2012 humor, and it is a little cringy to get through. But I do think there is a lot of great moments in those games, especially from the Tales of the Borderlands. Like, that game is fantastic. Pre-sequel even has some really good story beats as well. Not as good as 2, but it was still like pretty good. And then like 3 came out, and 3 is a good game. Like, if anything, it's a way better game than 2 is, like, mechanically. And for a lot of people, that's all you should care about. But the story is so offensively bad. I was like, holy fuck, this is awful. Like, it's really bad. Like, so many just awful decisions, like, just bad, not funny. It was just like, just not great. And you could be like, oh, was Borderlands 2 even that good? And I played it like after I played 3. I'm like, no, 2 still holds up, pretty well, at least in my eyes. And 3 was just kind of a big disappointment in terms of like story and stuff. And I know I'm like one of the only 2 people that give a shit about it, but like, I don't know. I feel like Borderlands 2 and Tales from the Borderlands did have some good stuff, even PC, like I said. That Borderlands 3 just became a mess. And gameplay wise, again, it was good. It was really good actually, but that stuff really knocked the wind out of my sails. And Wonderland, the spinoff they did, was also pretty good. Like, I think gameplay wise, that was a really good little spinoff, but it didn't really like do much with, I guess, like the overall Borderlands lore or whatever the fuck. I didn't even beat that game. I really should go back and do that, but it was a good time. But and then the Borderlands movie came out, and that was shit. And then they did a new Tales from the Borderlands, which was not very good because it didn't follow up anything from the previous season of Tales from the Borderlands. So yeah, Borderlands has been in kind of like a weird spot. So I'm hoping Borderlands 4 could kind of get the series back on track, because it's always going to be memey and kind of cringy, but I still think it could tell some pretty good stories. Like I think the world that they set up is pretty interesting. So I'm hoping 4 kind of goes into that a bit more, and it looks like it because this teaser seems a bit more serious than the usual Borderlands thing. So I'm hoping to go more in the right direction with this, but I guess we'll see when it comes out. The gameplay loop of Borderlands is still a lot of fun, so even if the story sucks ass, I'm at least gonna have fun. But I definitely also want to play Borderlands 3 again, because I only played it the one time. I played Borderlands 2 like 5 times, so like Borderlands 3, I definitely want to play it again just to like get my thoughts in order again. And I haven't even done any of the DLCs for 3 either, so I would like to experience that as well. But Borderlands 4, it's happening. I definitely don't feel as jumping out of my seat like I did when 3 was announced, but I guess we'll see when it actually comes out. But yeah, that's my rant as the Borderlands fan. So there you go.
Yeah, it's a cool announcement. That's all I can really say.
Yeah.
Now we got Secret Level, a teaser trailer for coming to Prime Video. Pretty much a anthology animated series featuring a bunch of video games. You got God of War, Mega Man, Pac-Man. I think Ghost of Tsushima was in there for a split second. Pretty much most of like the gamer bro games. You know what I'm saying? So every single episode out of the 15 will focus on one of these games and give us a epic story, as they put it within the video description. And yeah, I mean, I love anthology series. I think it is always, a fun way to sort of tell a story and also give many different people an opportunity to show sort of a different world and sort of whatever they're trying to expand on. And obviously pulling from these existing IPs is obviously like a very easy way to get people in on it. And I hope that, whatever these stories are telling, that they are executed well. The visuals obviously look pretty goddamn good. So, hopefully that when it does come out later this year in December, that it all sticks to landing.
Yeah, this looks great. I thought this is a great idea for an anthology series, just taking like all these different game series, making short little stories with them. All the visual styles look different depending on what they're working on. And the only downside I can see is like the list of games isn't that exciting. Like there's some cool ones like Pac-Man. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do with Pac-Man? That sounds awesome. But then you have things like do people care about like Crossfire X like enough to like do something like that, or New World? Like, some of it does feel like Amazon is like, you gotta do this because they're like paying us to like make it look good or whatever. Or like fucking Concord. Like, yeah. We don't have this. We're not talking about Concord on this podcast, but I'm gonna mention it now that game did fucking awful. It launched with like 600 peak concurrent players, and it's at like 100 players right now on Steam. It's doing so bad. But besides that, I think this is a great idea. You got things like Spelunky, Shifu, Mega Man. Like, I think that stuff is really cool to tell like a really, I guess, unique story in an anthology series. And like you said, I really like these anthology series a lot. Like, it wasn't really something I really gained an appreciation for until like Star Wars Visions, really. Like, I guess What If, but What If is like how you don't really do it. But Star Wars Visions, I really fell in love with that sort of format. I guess Black Mirror also, because Black Mirror is also like that. But I think you could tell some really cool stories in these game worlds and like sort of like the own little continuity or whatever. So definitely excited to check a peek at that. I don't know if I'll watch every episode of that, but I would definitely like to check out the games I'm interested in seeing. So yeah. Alrighty, so next up we have Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Its release date, which is coming, I forget when it's coming out.
December 9th.
Oh, December 9th, yeah. December 9th, that's going to be for PC and Xbox Series X and S, so it's going to be exclusive for a little bit, but then it's coming out on PS5 on spring of 2025. And it's funny because when I was watching it live, the audience, like, you know, it showed the December release date for PC and Xbox, and you know there was some claps, but then it showed on PS5 and everyone clapped. So like it really shows the, you know, it kind of shows how far down Xbox is at this point. And you know, Phil Spencer said, you know, that they're obviously doing changes with how Xbox is making games, and future exclusives like Blade are probably not going to be super exclusive anymore. I'm assuming they're all going to be sort of timed exclusives now, or maybe not even timed exclusives at this point. If they need to make more money, they might just release things like Blade on PS5 and maybe Switch 2. I don't fucking know, right? So, you know, obviously, you know, we talked about Xbox kind of shitting the bed over this, like the last few generations at this point. And I think that they definitely are going to move into being more of just a game publisher at this point. Like they might release one more console after the Series X and S, but I think after that, I think they might be donezo, man. Like this, there's not a lot of room left for them, but no one gives a shit about Xbox release dates at this point. But Indiana Jones looks good though. I think the speaking of Indiana Jones, I think the trailer looks really good. I'm really excited to see how they sort of play with the first person mode of this game. It seems like a very interesting choice that Machine Games made, since, you know, they're good at making first person games, and, you know, usually with, you know, relate, and, you know, if you're going to do an indie game, you want to like see indie, right? So like a third person adventure game would make sense. But I do think this is a more unique take on that, because, you know, people would just be like, oh, this is just Uncharted or Tomb Raider, right? So I think this makes the game stand out a bit more. I know some people are still unsure about it, but I think it makes the game, to me, stand out a bit more and makes me more interested in playing it than if it was just an Uncharted clone, right? So definitely I'm still really interested in this game. Definitely going to wait for it when it goes on PS5, because I don't think my PC could run this, but I guess we'll see when it comes out.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see what Xbox is deciding to do now that they sort of publish those 4 games with Hi-Fi Rush, fucking Sea of Thieves, etc. You know, and sort of they were like, oh, okay, like people are actually like going on PlayStation, going on Switch, and like actually playing those games. And now with Indiana Jones being like their next big like exclusive game, they announced ahead of the release that, hey, yeah, it's coming to PS5 in spring of 2025. You know, that is like a very, you know, friendly or consumer friendly move, because, you know, some people might have been like, do I need to get an Xbox to like play this? Now it's like, oh, okay, now I don't have to do that. You know, I think if they were like the sort of, I guess, like more corporate greed, because it's fucking Microsoft, they probably still are in that sort of mindset where it's like money. You know, for them to announce it ahead, I'm thinking like, oh, okay, like they're still trying to like be friendly within like the gaming community and the gaming space, and sort of having Phil Spencer also explained to like, you know, what they're trying to do with Xbox now. You know, they recognize that they have a lot of great IPs, but, you know, no one's gaming on Xbox. You know, like not a lot of people are really buying new Xboxes these days. And, you know, if they are, maybe like a few years later, they'll get a PlayStation 5 because, you know, they don't want to get a PC and sort of like figure out all of that stuff that goes with it. Because, you know, PC gaming, you know, it is very, very cool. You know, it is very good to have one just to play like the exclusive PC games on there. And then it's like, oh, but, you know, if you're just like a console boy and you want to play like the other console exclusives, obviously the PS5 is right there, and also the Nintendo Switch. But, you know, them moving much more towards just like publishing and having their games live on like PlayStation is obviously like very, very weird. I'm not sure if we're ever going to get to a point where Xbox will ever be able to recover and actually be like a standing, you know, one of the big 3. Because, you know, now people might be saying, oh, now it's like the big 2, you know, with like Nintendo and PlayStation. Even though Nintendo has been in their own lane for years and years and years, you know, it has always worked for them. And I feel like with Xbox, you know, they've been trying to play catch up, and it hasn't been working at all for like the past 5 years or so. And, you know, for them to sort of, I guess, like surrender and be like, oh, okay, now we're just going to have our games live on PlayStation. You know, I think that that's fine. You know, obviously like Microsoft, Xbox, they are very well funded. You know, they aren't scared of like losing money or sort of losing sort of, you know, bankruptcy or anything like that. Right. So for them to be like, okay, well, if we want to maximize our profits, fuck it, we'll just like put it on PlayStation, because obviously like a lot of people are on PlayStation that want to play certain games that we have. Why not just put it on there? So, for it to be a timed exclusive, that's nice, but it will eventually come to PS5, and I wonder how those sales numbers would do, because then that will be a big wake up call to Phil Spencer to be like, oh shit, we're wrong.
Yeah, it is gonna be interesting to see the sales numbers between like all the console, like PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. And I think at that point, if the Xbox numbers are super low, like I think things like Blade are just straight up gonna be on PS5 like on launch like day. Like I don't even know if they're gonna bother with the exclusive stuff, because it's obviously not going to work, right? Like the whole point of making it time exclusive so people buy the fucking Xbox. But if people would rather wait like me, then like there's no real point in even doing that at that point, right? Like you just want your money now. So yeah, I don't know. Xbox, I'm also surprised they haven't done a bigger push on PC. Like obviously they've always been pretty friendly with PC players. Like they just put their shit on Steam and stuff. But I'm surprised they haven't really pushed more to be like an alternative to Steam or whatever. Like maybe like combines with Steam or something, because people are never going to leave Steam, right? Like people are always going to be on Steam. So and I'm surprised I haven't like sort of like try like piggyback off Steam and do some stuff with the Xbox app or whatever. But I don't know. That's a whole nother topic for another day. But yeah, Xbox. We'll see. I'm just happy bringing in Indie on PS5 because the game does look pretty good and I would like to play it. So yeah.
Yeah, the game does look very, very good, and it's going to be a weird world when the new Gears of War game goes to PS5 or whatever.
Yeah, that's going to be so cool. Or Halo. Oh my God. Once Halo goes on PS5, it's over. So yeah.
We'll see what happens then. But yeah, Remedy is partnering with Annapurna. Hopefully,
Annapurna. Yeah, Annapurna.
Hopefully I pronounced that right. They have reached a agreement for Control 2 and also Control/Alan Wake expansions for TV and film. So they are co-financing Control 2, which they are very heavily into development, and this also means that Remedy will be able to publish that game themselves, which is very, very nice. And they will be bringing, like I said, Control and Alan Wake stuff to TV/film. So, yeah, pretty exciting stuff for Remedy, especially because I feel like ever since Alan Wake 2, they've sort of been on the come up, maybe not necessarily making profit, but they've been making big moves to sort of expand themselves and sort of become one of like the big, AAA video game studios, which, they kind of are. At this point, I feel like we got a lot of flack back then for calling them like a AA studio or whatever. But, I feel like with Alan Wake 2, especially with how nice that game looked and how well it performed on sales and sort of critic side and everything like that, like they definitely know what the fuck they're doing in terms of like making games, and I cannot wait to see what they do with Control 2. Definitely want to play the first Control because I bought that on my PlayStation account a while back for like $10. So, definitely interested to see what they do, especially with the sort of TV and film stuff, because, I feel like with their universes, they are very interesting and very story driven. So obviously putting that to film and TV can obviously work. We've seen it with The Last of Us and with the Sonic movie stuff that we'll talk about later. But yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like Remedy's always been like very big on like the whole TV movie thing. Like, I haven't played Alan Wake. I haven't played any of the games yet, but my brother is a big fan of them, and you are as well. Mm-hmm. And I know like they like to do. I think it was in Alan Wake 2. They had like live action cutscenes at some point. Like so I'm sure they're not like strangers to all of this. Like they probably have a lot of connections to like Hollywood and like stuff. So being able to do like TV shows or whatever, like I feel like that fits right in with their universes, and I feel like. That I don't know if it'll be necessarily cheaper than a game, probably, to make like sort of like a side thing for like Control or Alan Wake to expand the world or whatever. I think that sounds like a really cool way to experience their games, because their games have already been kind of multimedia-y to begin with. Quantum Break was like fucking weird, right? Like it was like a TV show game thing. I don't know, it was weird. So they always like to experiment with that stuff, and that's really commendable from them to really try all this new stuff with like multimedia and like how could you experience one franchise. Obviously, like things like the MCU or whatever, they do that too, but it's like for like a game franchise, that's pretty interesting. So good on them. I'm happy that Remedy's doing well. I still really need to play like Alan Wake and Control and stuff, but so many games, so little time, how it is. But yeah. I definitely want to play it at some point. Alrighty, so next up we got a bunch of Star Wars Outlaw stuff and how it released not great. So review scores, were on Monday, embargo, and the codes were sent the previous Monday, so like they didn't have a lot of time to really like get into it too much. And usually Ubisoft games are pretty large, so it's a little like that's never really a great sign when things like that happen, or especially when a release date, when the review embargo comes out and then the game comes out, because then it's like I know it's like a myth. Some people say it's not like related to confidence in the game, but I think it does mean the game is coming in hot. Like is definitely like was in the cooker for like just took that shit out, right? So that's always like a bit concerning, at least to me. And the big drama right now is that early access players, which they had to pay like at least $110, I think, for like this early access period, they have to reset new saves. So if you were playing the game during this early access period that you paid a bunch of money for, you would have to wipe your save, as there was some like game breaking bug or whatever. So this new patch would just wipe your save. So you basically lost like a whole day that you paid for, and your time is now gone. So that's awful. That's definitely not something you want to see happen when you are paying $110 for early access for a video game. And, you know, the game itself, I heard it was just kind of okay. Like, you know, it was getting 7 and 8s, you know, like the typical Ubisoft stuff. So it kind of sucks to see like the people that paid the most money, and probably the people that would keep giving Ubisoft money, or maybe hardcore Star Wars fans, are the ones getting punished for this. And obviously that says something like, oh, you shouldn't pre-order games to begin with, or you shouldn't like pay for these early access stuff. But, you know, people are going to do what they want with their money, and I think Ubisoft should be the ones responsible for being like, you know, finding a different way to patch this while wiping people's saves, right? Like, I feel like that should be the last thing they kind of look at. And I'm sure they probably looked into it, but, you know, that's something no gamer wants to lose, their fucking saves, right? Like, you never want to lose your saves. That's like the worst thing ever, especially if you paid extra money to play it early. So yeah, definitely not a great look for Ubisoft right here. And it hasn't been really helping the game's reception at all.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Star Wars Outlaws, it was the one game that I think was coming out this month that I think a lot of people were super duper excited for. Obviously coming out very late in the month, but still, you know, people were like, oh my God, you know, like the first ever open world Star Wars game. How is this game going to be? And, you know, when the scores came out, I was like, oh, okay, you know, like some people were like 8, 9s, and then, you know, on the lower ends, like 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5. I'm like, oh, okay, you know, like, you know, we're getting there, sort of thing. And then it was like, oh, if you paid for the early access, you have to restart your save. And I'm like, Ubisoft, what the fuck is wrong with you? How do you think that is like a sort of reasonable thing to do where you release the game? It's in such a buggy and broken state that reviewers even were having trouble with it, which is probably why there were, you know, certain low scores on there. And then on top of that, you get the consumer that now have early access for it. It's like, oh, the game actually wasn't finished. The people that paid $110, they were just beta testing it for free for you. And now you are forcing them to restart the saves. That is so crazy and abysmal. I don't even know if I will play this game. I feel like that I shouldn't give Ubisoft my money towards it. I feel like once Black Friday comes around, this game's going to be like $20, $30, I hope. Because it's just like, there's no way you guys botched this so badly that you are asking people who gave you money to play it early that you have to restart the saves. So that definitely sucks. You know, to those people that did talk about the game and review it, like Damian said, you know, there are some good parts about it. I know a lot of people were saying like this feels like a Star Wars game, which is great. You know, like getting like that Star Wars vibe, getting that sort of Star Wars environment in it is awesome. But, you know, the gameplay stuff, you know, it's very much typical like Ubisoft fashion where like there's like certain missions that are like required stealth, and like if you get caught, you have to restart it and everything like that. And then sometimes bugs will get in the way that will force you to restart it because it's like, oh, I accidentally got caught because I clipped through this wall and like I went across the map or whatever. You know, some crazy stuff is going on within this game. So yeah, you know, if you still want to play the game and, you know, give Ubisoft your $60, I'm not going to shame you, but just know that the game is not exactly in a perfect state and they are still fixing it actively as the game is now officially released. And I think that this is a practice that should never be in sort of consideration or sort of talked about, because it's just like, why are we releasing games that are like half broken, half finished? You know, even with like last year's Spider-Man 2 or whatever, like that game arrived with like so many bugs and glitches or whatever. Yeah, it came in very, very hot. And, you know, it's not necessarily on Insomniac, I would say. I think it was very much from Sony/PlayStation pushing them to release it, because it's like, we don't have any other fucking game for this holiday season. So like, we need Spider-Man. We need it. So, but yeah, Star Wars Outlaws, I hope that it does get better. You know, I feel like this is like a repeat of Jedi Survivor, but even worse, just because Jedi Survivor was actually like, you know, not 100% broken at launch. You know, this game was just like, you know, people paid early to play it and it was still broken.
Yeah, it's so crazy that both these new Star Wars games are like, were so broken when they came out. I'm like, I mean, I bought like not Fallen Order. What is it called? Survivor.
Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, Jedi Survivor. Like I bought it when it came out. I just never played it because of how broken it was. Like I think now it's like mostly fixed. So I didn't get, I had to find time to play it. And Outlaws I would like to play at some point. Like, but again, Ubisoft games I feel like you probably should never buy new, just because it's like they always go on sale immediately, and if they have to fix up a bunch of stuff like this, like you might as well just wait. So once this gets down to like 20, like I'm still like the Avatar game kind of piques my interest too that they made, but like I'm waiting for it to go like $20 and then I'll buy it, right? Like, Ubisoft games are usually that price point for me. Unless they're like, like Rayman or Prince of Persia, then I think they're more worth it. Just because, the teams that work on those games are very passionate. And I'm not saying these people aren't either. I'm just saying like they're just so massive that things just kind of get lost, So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. All right, so now let's quickly talk about Croc, The Legend of Gobbos Remastered. Random ass teaser dropped out of nowhere. So I've always heard about this game. It's definitely one of the more underrated 3D platformers from the PS1 era. I know that this game got a lot of flack when it's talked about online for like the camera and just like the like overall controls. Yeah, I'm just like, oh, okay. I mean, it sounds like a PS1, 3D platformer from that time. I think I do have both of the games that are on PS1, but I just never played them. I've always seen other people play them, try them out, as a platformer aficionado, definitely had to buy it for the collection, but just never tried it out myself. But this remaster, it looks pretty cool. They are definitely smoothing up the graphics and sort of presenting it within the 2024 standards for a 3D platformer. So yeah, hopefully when it does come out, it is, running well, running smoothly, and the controls are actually better.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I learned about this game was when Andy Let's played it back in like 2009 or whatever. And that's kind of where I learned about Croc. And then I think last year someone did a video, and there's like a lot of deep lore with this game, just like from a game development standpoint. Like I think it was supposed to be a Yoshi game at some point, and it was one of like the first 3D platformers to really come out. And then Nintendo got mad or something, and then they made Mario 64. It has like a lot of crazy lore to it. I recommend searching it up because I feel like it has more of an impact in terms of that part of the gaming sphere in terms of 3D platformers than it does just being a good game, because the game is kind of just average, like it's fine. The biggest thing about this remaster is I hope they take away the tank controls, like just make it analog. From the gameplay, it still looks like tank controls, which would be really unfortunate. So I'm really hoping it just plays like a normal 3D platformer, and that's it. Also, I feel like just selling Croc 1 does feel a bit much. Like I do wonder how much it's going to be. That it could have packed in Croc 1 and 2, especially because Croc 2 is like pretty rare. So it would be nice to like sort of just have both of them in one collection. But it's cool to see Croc back. They said they want to bring back more stuff that Argonaut did. I don't know what else he did besides Croc, but apparently that's what this thing said, is it's like we want Argonaut to do more stuff. So very cool. And again, this is what I mean when no IP is ever fucking dead. Like, I never thought Croc would come back. Like I never thought Epic Mickey would come back. Like, all these things just come back. If you could sell nostalgia, they're gonna sell it, right? Because they know people are gonna buy it just based on that. So if you're afraid your favorite IP is dead in the water, it's gonna come back at some point. So hopefully. Sly, like I think Sly would come back, like either as a remake or whatever. Like I honestly don't think any IP is dead at this point. So, which for better or for worse, I guess. But yeah. Alrighty, so next we got the Nintendo Indie World Plus Partner Showcase. Wasn't really like too much in this. It was kind of just like whatever. I thought the last directs were fantastic, so I wasn't really expecting much from this anyway. So I'm not like that mad about it. But there was some good stuff in here. We got Pico Park 2.
Yes, that goddamn game.
So yeah, right now it's only on Switch as an exclusive for them at the moment. We played Pico Park 1. It was a fucking shit show. It was fun, but also very stressful. So not looking forward to that whenever we play that. Probably once it goes on Steam, like I don't feel like playing this on Switch, but yeah, looks like it'll be a fun time.
Yeah, because now it has like 60 levels, and I'm like, 60 levels? How are
I feel like I went through hell playing the first one, so that's gonna be fun. So I was to show more about Plucky Squire. Plucky Squire, I'm sure both of us are eyeing that game. Looks like a lot of fun. Sort of like a Zelda-y type game, but it's also mixing in a bunch of different gameplay styles. Like you have like Punch Out. I saw one of them and some other stuff, so that's pretty cool. Anything else you'd like to pick out from here?
I mean, Plucky Squire just has a really cute art style. I think I also follow the artist on Twitter, so I've been eyeballing this game for a bit.
Same.
Pizza Tower was like the highlight that they showed within the Indie World Showcase. Is like a Wario Land like game that is now on the Switch. It released last year in early 2023 on PC. So this game has been out for a while, but now it is on the Nintendo Switch. To anyone that wants to play it and try it out, I think I'm gonna wait for Fangamer to release the physical version of that, and then I'll buy it then. But
Pizza Tower is very good. I played it on Steam. I know the developer said he didn't know if it was even going to go on Switch, so it was cool to see him like really like buckle down and like make a Switch version for it, because it's obviously going to sell. I mean, it sold very well on Steam, and I'm sure it's going to sell very well on Switch, because it's kind of like the target audience for it anyway. So Pizza Tower is great. I highly recommend it. I guess the SpongeBob SquarePants, the Patrick Star game. I heard about this. I didn't know it was going to be like a goat simulator type thing, where I thought it was gonna be a 3D platformer, but no, it's definitely more like Patrick like ragdolls around, like you do crazy shit for like NPCs and stuff. Definitely taking like the same gameplay formula from Goat Simulator, where you kind of do the same sort of thing. And honestly, it looks a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. I'm not gonna buy it like day one or whatever. I'm probably not
it's
gonna
only
buy it
$40, so
hey, it's $40, but I think like the last SpongeBob game was pretty good. I think Cosmic Shake was pretty good. So, I guess if you want to, it's not the same developer, because that was Purple Lamp that made that one. And this is like, I don't fucking know who's making this, but it looks interesting. I'll give them that. It's definitely like a more interesting spin on what I thought this game would be. I thought it was going to be either just a generic 3D platformer, or it was going to be like some party game or whatever. So it's kind of cool to see them go for like a Goat Simulator clone. That's not something you see every day. So
this is being I don't know the developer, but it is being published by Outright Games, and they've done a lot of sort of kids tie-in games, like Paw Patrol and
hell yeah, bro,
all that stuff. So, but the game definitely came out of nowhere, but it looks like it could be a lot of fun, especially if you like SpongeBob, obviously, and having a game featuring Patrick that isn't just like a straight up 3D platformer, but actually like like you said, like a goat simulator kind of thing, where you just go around Bikini Bottom just destroying stuff, having fun that way. I think that this can be a great time, and the fact that it isn't retailing at like a full $60, it's only $40, definitely makes it a lot more appealing to people. Obviously, people were freaking out over Capcom Fighting Collection 2 because it has fucking Power Stone in it.
Yeah,
both
Power
of them.
Stone, bro. What the fuck?
Both of them, and I'm like, okay, those are like some pretty rare and coveted Dreamcast games, and I'm like, okay. I mean, Capcom is definitely hitting every single mark when it comes to the recent releases for their fighting collection. So I'm excited to see how this next one is going to play out.
Yeah, Power Stone was crazy. I was like watching it, like, yo, Power Stone, what the fuck? So that's really neat to see. Like you said, they're like pretty rare to like play. I think you could play them on like PS3 or something. I don't know, but like they're pretty rare to play. I know our friend Kofi had it on Dreamcast, like the first game, I believe. So, having it more accessible for everyone is really cool. So I know people really like Power Stone, so that's really cool to see. Another cool thing to see is the DS Castlevania games are going to be in their own collection. The Castlevania Anonymous collection, I believe that's how you say it. So that's already out now. I think it's like $25, $30 right now on everything, I believe. And it's great. I think they basically done every main Castlevania game. You have the all the older ones that came out. You have the GBA collections, and now you have the DS games. And I heard nothing but good things about both the GBA stuff and the DS Castlevania games, because they're all like in that Metroidvania format, and people really like those a lot. So I'm definitely interested in playing through the whole Castlevania series at some point in my life. I definitely want to play like at least Symphony of the Night. I've never even played that game before, so I really would like to jump in on these, because I heard nothing but good things about all these like portable Castlevania games, and I'm happy they found a way to like port DS games, because it's always hard, right, to like port DS games to other things. So you have to like figure out how to do some of the touchscreen stuff. I believe they changed some of the touchscreen commands into just Q2Es or whatever, so that's cool. And I think it's mostly the minimap anyway was the dual screen, so really cool they found a way to figure it out to put these games on a collection, because I know people were asking for this. So really cool to see Konami do that. I mean, if there's anything Konami knows how to do, is a good collection at this point. They don't know how to really make games, but they do know how to make a good collection, so I'll give them that.
Last two things from the main direct, we got My Sims Cozy Bundle. I believe it's the first My Sims game in My Sims Kingdom that is coming out November 19th. They aren't doing anything fancy with it, so you know.
No, it looks like the Wii game, just like
it's literally just the Wii games on the Switch. They might have up-res the graphics a little bit, but pretty much you're getting two Wii games for $40 on the Nintendo Switch, which you know might be convenient for a lot of people because they don't have a Wii or whatever. Ironically enough, I have pretty much almost every single My Sims games except for those two, so really? I might buy it. Let me see. Because Emma, my girlfriend, she just really likes those games for some reason. I'm like, hey, you know, I'll buy them because they're like $3-5 every single time we come across them.
Yeah, when I saw the girl with the headphones, like that My Sims girl, I'm like, oh my god, dude, like the nostalgia. Like I always used to see that shit in like ads, like back in the day on like Cartoon Network and shit. And I'm like, oh, that's cool to see. I mean, I never bought them, but it's cool to see them coming back, I guess. It's so random too. Like I thought the My Sims brand kind of died with the Wii because it's like, what the fuck else are you gonna do with it? But you know, for people that are big fans of it, that's really cool to see. I know there was like a few other My Sims games, but I know like people like those two the most. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly, we got the Yakuza.
Yakuza Kiwami. Yeah.
Kiwami. That is the first one remastered, right?
It's a remake of the first game, yeah. So I think the main Yakuza guy was just like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna bring on Switch these games. Again, similar stories. Like I don't know if it's like the right audience for like a Yakuza game. Like it seems a little weird, and then he did it anyway. So I'm kind of shocked it wasn't like all of them. Like it just being the first game feels a bit weird because usually when they do this now, they're like, oh, play the first one, play the second one. Here's Yakuza 0 also. Like you usually do things like that. So it's kind of weird that they didn't do that. It's just the first game. But you know, if you want to experience this game, then this seems like a good starting point. Usually 0 is the one people say to start with at this point, but I'm sure Kiwami 1 is also a good place to start. Though it is kind of weird. Again, if you have a PS4 or a PC, you could just play the whole series on there and it go on sale all the time. So I don't know if I really recommend getting it on Switch. It probably would run fine. If it doesn't, that'll be insane because these games are like PS3 games, so I don't know why it wouldn't. But I definitely would recommend probably buying it on PC or PlayStation or anywhere besides Switch because all of them are on there. But I heard nothing but good things about the Yakuza series. There's just so many of them. It's another series I would like to get into, but there's so many of them and they're so long. So I'm like, I can't I can't really dedicate all the time to it. But it's really cool that they're on Switch. I know, you know, the Yakuza fans are really rabid, so I'm happy they got this. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that they're testing the waters with this one to see how well it does sales-wise, and then after that, they'll be like, hey, you know what? We'll give the Switch fans the rest of it. So, you know, if you really want to play this series on the Switch for whatever reason, whether it's like the portability aspect or you only have a Switch, buy it when it launches, because I'm sure that will be a big indicator to the team to whether or not they should continue to port the other games. But now we got the Sonic 3 movie trailer. Fans have been fucking asking for this for a while. Me personally, I could have waited a little bit longer. I wasn't necessarily ravaging for it. I know that there were a lot of random ass insiders or whatever just guessing at some point, just being like, oh, it's coming out next Tuesday. And then
every week they said it. So it'll be right at some point.
And then Paramount was like, fuck it, you guys are goddamn annoying and can't stop asking about it, so we'll drop it now that it is ready. And they gave like a time and everything like that, 9 a.m. EST, and it dropped, and obviously fans are very happy about it. It pretty much gives everyone a very good idea of where the characters are right now and how they fit Shadow into this story and this world. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they're not doing the whole like, oh my god, Sonic did these crimes and said it's Shadow, because he's like, we got to bring Sonic in to deal with Shadow, and I'm like, oh okay, they're very much straying away from the SA2 storyline, which I think is great. I feel like the biggest thing about these movies is now that we're sort of like into it now, they can do their own thing, and they could really expand this universe of Sonic in a very different direction that we haven't seen before, and we'll keep obviously fans on their toes to see exactly how this will play out. And obviously with Shadow's backstory, that's like to a T. We see Maria there, we see the fucking body. I'm like, okay,
she's fucking dead. Let's go.
She's gonna fucking die. And obviously that's gonna cause a whole catalyst of events that will lead Shadow on his revenge plot line and everything like that. And fucking Keanu Reeves officially confirmed, and he sounds great. It is just Keanu, which is fine because he does a pretty good voice that I think fits Shadow very, very well. And yeah, this is a perfect 3 minutes that I will continue to watch for a while, and I cannot wait to see this on the big screen, not just the movie itself, but also the trailer.
Yeah, it looks fucking great. Like, I like you said, like it does seem like they're doing their own thing with the SA2 storyline. Like they're obviously taking some things, like Shadow, obviously Jared Robotnik, but I don't know if they're gonna do things like the Arc. I don't know if they're gonna do like Bio Lizard. Like I don't know if they're gonna do all that shit. Apparently, people are saying like Shadow when he was skating away, it was Prison Island that he was escaping from. I don't know. That's what people have been saying on Twitter. So they might take like some aspects from the SA2 storyline, but again, I'm not expecting like Arc or BioLizard or stuff like that. I mean, they're already changing it with Jared Robotnik maybe being alive towards the end, when he met himself, Jim Carrey. So,
Yes.
I always have to say this too. These movies are still, like kids movies. Like they're still RPG, right? Like obviously you have more serious moments, but I'm not expecting like full on anime bullshit to happen. Like, I would love to see both of them go super, which probably is going to happen, and like do stuff, but the movie is still gonna like always prioritize probably more comedic moments over more serious moments. At least that's how the series has been overall, which is fine. Again, it's doing mostly its own thing. That is not to say that this movie might not do more serious things. Like, in the trailer, we see like Donut Lord. Maybe he's going to fucking die. I don't know. People are saying he's going to blow up with Prison Island or something. And that's why Shadow, like people are making a bunch of crazy connections right now. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but it would be cool to have like a more of a tonally dark movie out of nowhere. Like do like a Jack 2 on this shit where it just gets like mad serious for no reason. But yeah, overall, I think the movie looks, at least the trailer looks great. I love Shadow's like new design. Like they made him a bit more edgy looking. Like I know his eyes were a bit round in the end of the Sonic 2 trailer, but now Shadow looks perfect. Like he looks great in this art style. Keanu Reeves, I think, does a great job. Like I think when I heard him as Shadow, I'm like, yeah, that's good. I know it's Keanu Reeves, but I'm like, he sounds great as Shadow. Like that's basically the voice I'm looking for. Like I'm still like not the biggest fan of the current game Shadow. Like he's doing a better job with the Sonic X Shadow generations, but I won't lie, he's probably is my least favorite Shadow voice. Like I love the Prime voice actor for Shadow, and Keanu Reeves as Shadow is good as well. So I don't know. I think Shadow is supposed to have like that more calm, deeper voice instead of being like more like I'm the ultimate life form or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Keanu Reeves is doing a great job with it from like the 2-3 lines he said in this trailer. And it looks like it's gonna be great. It looks like it's gonna be a bunch of action. You got Team Sonic is all together right now doing stuff, which is exciting. So yeah, definitely. I'm excited to see the movie, maybe another trailer or something they might do. Very excited. I can't wait to see the kid blow up or something. They're not gonna shoot her. So like, I don't think they're gonna shoot her. I think like the lab is gonna blow up and then she's gonna be like in the rubble, like dying or something. Like I don't think they could. I don't think they're gonna shoot the fucking kid, but she is dead. So that's good. So yeah.
Yeah. This trailer is just everything, like there's just so much stuff to pull from it, and obviously Sonic fans are very happy with it. I'm sure that they realize that, hey, like Sonic fans are obviously very particular, and if they don't like something, you will fucking hear about it, which is obviously what happened with the first trailer that this movie ever got, or this movie franchise ever got, where it was like the Sonic design was just complete ass, and obviously they went back and they redid it. They brought some people in from the Sonic community like Tyson Hess to be like, hey, fucking fix our Sonic, and then obviously he did, and I'm just so excited to see how this movie pans out. The fucking Akira slide, the goddamn battle at the end that they're gonna have. There's gonna be so many great moments here. Is Gerald fucking Robotnik alive? Who knows? Is that like a hallucination or something? But obviously they're doing some very different things for this franchise, and with the director Jeff Fowler, he had a part within the Shadow the Hedgehog game within 2005. So obviously he very much loves Shadow, and he's gonna do everything within his power to make sure that this movie delivers. When Shadow was like teleporting around, like that was just straight up like Shadow the Hedgehog during the opening cutscene. I'm like, oh, I love this. He's like doing the thing where he's like beating up everyone by teleporting everywhere. So definitely great. Like they're using like every part of Shadow. Like he even uses his little like boots to actually like fly and shit. I don't think he's ever really done that too much. Like when he boosts, but I think they really get the character, and I'm really excited to see like how they sort of develop this story and kind of where it leads, because we know it's like they want to do more Sonic stuff, even though like I'm still unsure about the whole sort of like MCU-ification of Sonic here, like cause, it's gonna be a point where it just feels like you're milking it, but I do think they're going to put a lot of time and effort, or they have put a lot of time and effort into this movie, and I'm very excited to see where it leads and
how it evolves this sort of canon of Sonic, you know? So very exciting stuff.
Very, very exciting.
All right.
Nice.
So yeah, I guess I don't know whose turn it was. I think it was my turn. I don't know. I can't remember. Either way, Star Wars The Acolyte is canceled after one season. So apparently this was due to lower viewership. Apparently it started with very high viewership towards the end. Towards the beginning. And then I think towards like the second episode or third episode, it started to drop really hard. And then by the end of it, I think it was the lowest viewed finale that they ever had. Which kind of led to its cancellation. So also it doesn't help that the show costs like $1 bajillion per episode to make, which didn't help at all with the with the finances there, which led to its cancellation. I know some people on Twitter are being stupid and being like, it's canceled because of the woke or whatever the fuck, but it's like obviously not. So, and I know the main actress went on and said stuff about that too, being like, you know, she's not surprised, you know, with the people attacking her and stuff, which is also fair because, you know, people are stupid and all that stuff. But you know, when it comes down to it, Disney canceled this because probably the lower viewership, and now we are left with not much besides like a cliffhanger now. So yeah.
I mean, when I talked about it last time, you know, Star Wars The Acolyte, I said this might be the best Star Wars thing that Disney has done in a while. I wasn't fucking joking. I feel like that this is a Star Wars show that really dives into the lore of like the Jedi and the Sith and like who's really good, who's really bad, like sort of thing. And this is like the first ever mainstream Star Wars piece of media that really got down to that. And you know, I get it, viewership, money, everything like that. Like that shit was obviously like it costs like movies worth of money to make this show, which, you know, sucks because it is Star Wars and obviously you want to do everything right and correctly to make it look as good as it can, and for viewership to be as low as it was, you know, that also sucks. But for it to be canceled after one season, when I'm sure the director and the creators behind the show had a lot of great ideas for a potential season 2, I think it would have been great. I mean, with the new Lord of the Rings show on Amazon Prime or whatever, the first season was fucking trash from like critics or whatever. Now this new season comes out, it's like, holy shit, like this is like super, super good. Wow, it's almost like if you give people a chance to like, you know, like develop the stories and sort of go along with whatever plot that they were trying to do, it can actually be better. I mean, I won't lie, you know, The Acolyte, the first half of it was kind of just like normal Star Wars stuff. And then I feel like halfway through, once we got to see Khmer and everything like that, it was like, oh shit, like this is like getting like pretty serious. And, you know, it's very much like a different take on Star Wars. And now that it's canceled, you know, it sucks. I hope Disney, you know, sort of reverses their decision at some point because they you know, they've done it before, but I doubt it. You know, but also, you know, like the whole like the bigger picture is that like with the people that were complaining online that were sort of like on the right that were like, oh my God, this show's so woke and everything like that. Now it shows that Disney is maybe potentially listening to them and maybe following what they want from Star Wars, which is like the same old fucking garbage bullshit that is like not really going anywhere with like Luke Skywalker and everything like that. And it's like Star Wars has so much potential to do so many great things. And I feel like we've just been stuck doing the same shit over and over again, you know, with like the fucking Last Jedi. Like that is like one of the best Star Wars movies for a while. And it came out and people were like, I don't really like it because it does a lot of things different. Well, different's fucking good, because when you have the same stuff happening over and over again, it's going to get boring. You're going to get sick and tired of it at some point. And if you don't, then it's like, well, I guess that's just how you want to consume your media, where it's like the same shit over and over again. And we're not really going to go anywhere with Star Wars. You know, I read the Rolling Stones like opinion piece after the show got canceled, and what she was writing was very much correct. I was like, yeah, she's fucking spinning, where it's like, you know, fans, they want this certain thing from Star Wars, but maybe that's not what Star Wars was at all. It was just something that they made up in their head or whatever. So yeah, I'm obviously devastated. My girlfriend's fucking devastated that this show got canceled. And just because like, I feel like that there was a lot of great potential that they could have done within season 2. And it sucks that once again, another fucking person of color within Star Wars is getting fucking attacked and ravaged on social media because these fucking people are just stupid and they just can't keep their mouth shut and not like attack these people online just because they're playing a goddamn character within Star Wars.
Yeah, that part is always like really, you know, it's a thing we've been seeing in a lot of media recently, where it's like, you know, if you're a person of color or you're like transgender or whatever, like I feel like, you know, they're always gonna say it's like bad writing. And, you know, you're fair to
criticize
if you like
it.
the writing or whatever, that's whatever. But a lot of it does seem like way more aggressive because that person, is a person of color or is transgendered. Like, this is not that related to Star Wars, but kind of related to what we're talking about. In Final Fantasy XIV, the new expansion, one of the main characters in this new expansion was transgendered, or the voice actress anyway. And, a lot of people hate this character for various reasons or whatever, for like the writing or whatever. But I do feel like some of the attacks do feel like a lot more personal just because that person is, transgendered and stuff. And, I feel like that stuff is always like, why? Like, I know it's because I'm not like racist or a bigot, I guess, but it's also like, why? So, but anyway, like that stuff also like sucks about that side of stuff. But, and like you said, sometimes shows do need more than one, obviously needs more than one season to really get its feet grounded. I didn't think as highly about Acolyte as you did, but I still like enjoyed it. There's still a lot of elements about it I think were really cool, and they were really sort of expanding the lore of Star Wars beyond like, the stuff we know of Ravi with Anakin and all that stuff that we've seen a million times. Going for the High Republic era. I know like Disney kind of wiped that canon, but they're sort of doing like a new canon now. And it was cool to sort of like, see them experiment with that, do something a little different. That's why I think Andor was really cool. And that's why I thought Mandalorian was really cool, because you were exploring things that you weren't really exploring before. And it makes the Star Wars universe feel so much bigger than it is, because a lot of the media now is like, oh, everything is connected to like Anakin, or everything's connected to like the Skywalker shit. It's like, it makes the universe feel so small, and I don't really like that in media. Like, some of my favorite things in games or movies is when the world feels large and like there's so many different possibilities to look into and shit. And Star Wars feels like it keeps closing itself every time it like opens itself up, because it's like, oh, we don't want that, we want this. And it's like, okay. And even though I think Acolyte was kind of messy and stuff, like I still think it could have been something really cool by the end of it. And it kind of sucks that we're never going to really see that, or if Disney would even attempt to do this sort of timeline of Star Wars again because of this. So, and maybe they should just not spend that much money on each episode either. Like, I do feel like they were spending a shit ton of money. They were like, I feel like every Disney show is like that. Like, they're never going to make that profit back if they keep spending like 2 movies worth an episode on a show.
Yeah.
So I definitely think they should fix that. But yeah, also like it just needed more time to breathe. I think Acolyte could have been pretty good if it had like a second season to really round out its story. And I think they wrote it in mind with 2 seasons also. So, and I think that's fair too, because a lot of people are like, oh, don't write a show like that. But I feel like with Star Wars, and you're on Disney Plus, you're like, oh, we're gonna get at least 2 seasons, right? So, and Disney's never really done this before. They never really canceled like a show like this before.
Yeah, like outright cancel a show.
Yeah, so it does feel like kind of out of left field that this even happened. So I'm sure the writers got blindsided by it as well. So, but yeah, either way, it sucks that this show won't be able to get the time it really needed to develop. But I guess we'll see what they do next. I mean, they got Andor season 2 coming out and some other stuff, Mandalorian and Grogu, but they might milk those too. So I don't know, because people are used to that now. So yeah, it's a whole mess. Disney likes money. Disney is always going to follow what makes them more money and shit. That's what they do. But yeah, sucks for people that were really, really excited for a second season of The Acolyte. And it sucks for people like me that want to see it get even better than, what they were doing in the first season, which, again, I thought the show was a little messy, but I still overall enjoyed it. So, but yeah.
Yeah, Disney is definitely like the best and worst thing that has happened to Star Wars, just because, like we have been able to get like all of these shows and all of these movies, but now it's like, I don't think they really truly know what they want to make for Star Wars now that they're sort of, like you said, enclosing everything in and sort of like making the world feel so small comparatively to like what Star Wars can be. It's a fucking galaxy far, far away. You let your imagination run wild, let shit, happen, and like characters do their thing or whatever. So yeah, definitely sucks. Hopefully the Star Wars IP and, everything like that under Disney gets better, but yeah, definitely no good.
Nope.
But yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Damian?
Nah, that's about everything.
All right. So thank you guys for listening to the Travis and Damian podcast, episode 145. We will see you guys 2 weeks from now with another episode.
Later.